Are the millionaires done arguing yet about who's going last? What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Currently in the bedroom of a condo here in Sarasota, Florida, where I'm going to be performing. I wanted to talk about the Mo'Nique and D.L. Hughley thing because everybody's been talking about it, and I have my thoughts on it, and it took me a couple days to really gather my thoughts, and then just right now, I spent over an hour watching a live feed that Mo'Nique had done. Here's the thing with Mo'Nique. I wish she would just stop trying to gaslight black women into thinking that she's doing all of this for them.
Because at what time did black men start attacking black women?
That's what bothers me about a lot of what Mo'Nique does, is she tries to make it sound like she's almost like a Rosa Parks of comedy or Rosa Parks of entertainment, and it's not that deep. I get it, Mo'Nique. A lot of people shit on you. A lot of people shit on me. I can relate to you on certain levels, but at a certain point, you need to look at yourself and be like, okay, am I the problem in any of this?
Breathe that in for a sec.
Because that's what's missing every time I listen to anything with Mo'Nique. And I have heard a lot of Mo'Nique because I follow along, because I feel like on some levels I do relate to her, but then at the same time she just loses me because there's never any accountability, just as far as that one was maybe not my best judgment. And I don't feel like her husband's really a lot of help to her, and they just explained on the live stream why she calls him daddy and how that's a good thing.
Yes, Daddy. Yes.
Please forgive me.
Go on, take your time.
It feels weird. It's what it is. And also, like, she goes back and forth on the D.L. Hughley thing. And when I refer to them as both being millionaires arguing about who goes last, this is something I can really speak on. Because as a fellow comedian, that argument is definitely about ego on both sides. They both wanted to be the headliner for no good reason. Because as a person that does headline, headlining is about ego when it gets to a certain level. Because if you're getting the money that you're supposed to get, and that's not going to change, then there shouldn't be a problem over who goes last. If you were to tell me that I could get paid what they get paid and not have to go last, I'd be like, yeah, I'm definitely taking that deal. I don't have to go last. I can go relax. Can I leave right after my set? That would be my next question. My first question, if they were like, hey, Ty, we know we're paying you $50,000. We know we're paying you $30,000. Whatever, because I looked into what both of them make, and they're both getting over $40,000 for that gig if they're getting their regular rate. Maybe they got a cut rate. Either way, they're getting really great money for one show, one night. So if someone were to come to me and say, look, we're going to honor your contract. We're going to pay you exactly what we said we're going to pay you, but you're not going to go last. I might pretend to be sad just for their sake. I might pull a well, I understand these things happen, but inside I'd be jumping for joy. And my next question would be like, do you mind if I leave right after my set? Or if I was trying to be really petty towards the other comedian, which it appears they were both trying to be petty towards the other, what I would do is I'd be like, can I have meet and greet while they're still on stage? And then I'd let it drop that I'm doing meet and greet right after my set. And then everybody would clear out for the other one. So it gets on my nerves that either of them are making such a big deal of it, because they both won. Like, not only in comedy, but in life. They've both won. I looked at both of their net worth, and I know that these things can be off sometimes, but Mo'Nique, $13 million. I read it two different places, celebrity net worth, and then there was another one as well. D.L. Hughley, there seemed to be like two different reports, one for 10 million, one for 12 million. So it's like, what are you guys arguing about, really? Like, you both have really won in life. So now it's just about ego. And I would get it if Mo'Nique said that and said, just like, my ego got the best of me, and it's like, it's what it is. I've been there for far less money, where there was a particular situation where I did say, I don't even know why this person would be headlining. Like, I was originally booked as the headliner, and then you decided to change to this person, which this person doesn't have as many credits as me, and your show's going to be lopsided because I'm going to go up and kill it, and then he's just going to go up and do all right. And I did make kind of a thing about that, but then afterwards I thought about it, and I really was like, why did you care? And it really was just about ego, and that's where Mo'Nique loses me, because there's never any humility in what she does. She pretends to be humble. She pretends to be very altruistic, and it's all about other people, and she has to make these stands. No, you don't. Nobody's really thinking about you that way. I haven't heard a single black woman in the comedy world say, I feel like Mo'Nique really represents me. Maybe they're out there and I just haven't heard them, but for the most part, everybody seems to stay quiet. And then my friend Jen, who I've talked about before, she has a YouTube channel as well, and she had commented on Mo'Nique's post, and she had told Mo'Nique that if she could get all the people that were giving her the Yas Queen and really egging her on online to actually support her in real life, she would have gotten her Netflix deal. And yeah, that sounds like a cold thing to say, and some people were mad at her for saying it, but it's true. It's like all these people pretend to support you, but at the end of the day, do they really support you? If your projects aren't taking off, if you're not able to pull like a Louis C.K., because Louis C.K. used to put out his specials on his website and then he'd make all the money off of them. A lot of people have gone the YouTube route instead of going to Netflix, and who knows if these comics could get Netflix deals or if they decided to because Netflix wasn't dealing with them. But either way, they've had really successful specials that have made them a fair amount of money and gotten them the attention that they want to get. And why hasn't Mo'Nique been able to pull something like that? So it makes you wonder that too. Like, is there something wrong with somebody just saying like, hey, these people really don't have your back? As much as they're pretending to really ride for you, they're not riding for you at the end of the day. And Jen also told her that her awards that she always talked about might as well be paperweights. And that's true. Precious came out in 2009. It's 2022. In this business altogether, no matter which part of it you're in, no matter what level you're in, it is about what have you done for me lately? What have you done lately that's noteworthy? And when it comes to that kind of thing, I would say that D.L. Hughley does technically have more reason to headline than Mo'Nique. Yeah, Mo'Nique got an Oscar in 2009, 2010, whenever, because, you know, Precious came out, and I'd imagine it was like a year later that she got the Oscar. Maybe it was 2009. Either way, still a long time ago. Even if it was 2010, it was still 12 years ago. That was a long time ago. D.L. Hughley has his radio show. D.L. Hughley had a show. A friend of mine was writing on it and was also on the cast for it. And so he's had some shows since then, and he's just a little bit more relevant. So when it comes to that, it kind of makes sense that D.L. would headline it. She did say D.L. wasn't able to follow her, which I'd imagine it would be kind of hard to follow somebody talking about you like that, because if he goes as hard at her as she went at him, then he's going to be seen as attacking a black woman, and she is going to play that card. We all know that she really is going to play that card.
Because at what time did black men start attacking black women? What kind of real nigga is that? That's a bitch nigga. That's a bitch nigga. What kind of real nigga would ever attack a goddamn black woman? A bitch nigga.
And that's something that I really don't get when it comes to Mo'Nique, because she'll pretend to be one of the comics, one of the boys, you know, just another comic, and this is why she should be respected because of how long she's been in comedy. And then the minute somebody comes for her, she's like, you're attacking a black woman. And it's like, no, that's not, it can't work that way. I mean, like, yeah, sometimes it can be both, but it can't always be both. And that's the thing with Mo'Nique, is it always is both for her. It's always like people are attacking her, and then she's like, okay, well, if you mess with me, I'm gonna mess with you. If you want to dance,
we gonna dance, nigga. We gonna do the two-step, nigga.
And then when they go to dance, then she gets mad that they're dancing. Then she's like, you know, you're attacking a black woman, and how weak do you have to be? So he was kind of screwed in that way because he really couldn't address the elephant in the room, no pun intended, and that wasn't a fat joke. Technically, Mo'Nique has lost weight. And just comedically, I told you guys, I went to see a Mo'Nique show, and I was excited to see it because back in the day, I was a Mo'Nique fan. But the show wasn't that great. It was her talking about her open relationship and that kind of stuff. And that was the other thing. She mentioned several times, even though she makes it seem like she was doing that to stand up for black women, that really
Saturday night, I don't care where I went up on that stage, I was going to hand D.L. Hughley his ass.
Because D.L. had her on his show, and he wasn't even there that day. And then the lady that she was dealing with played a game of Would You Rather. Well, she asked her if she wanted to play a game. Mo'Nique was like,
okay, sis, let's play the game.
And so she asked her to play Would You Rather.
So I said, okay, I'm down for it.
And then she asked her,
would you rather your husband sleeps with Lee Daniels with a condom or Corinne Steffens without one.
And I would say protected sex with Lee Daniels is the way to go on that one. But, you know, whenever somebody, because I've been in that position where people have asked me if I would play certain games on their shows, on their podcasts, and I'll tell them it depends on the game. I don't just say yes to it before I know what it is. And if I don't think it sounds fun, or if I don't think I'm going to be able to have fun with it, or I think they're trying to set me up, I'll just say I don't want to do it. And Mo'Nique definitely has more power in those situations than I do. So if I can do that, then she can do that. I mean, like, would you rather? You know it's going to be something stupid because that's the name of the game. Like, Mo'Nique has this way of acting like everything was invented especially to insult her or to be some kind of dig at her. Like when Charlemagne mentioned her on Donkey of the Day, and then she went in and she was like, this brother called me Donkey of the Day. And it was like, that's just a thing. Everybody's Donkey of the Day on it one day or another. Kanye's been Donkey of the Day. A lot of people, Charlemagne himself has been Donkey of the Day. So for her to make it seem like Donkey of the Day was this thing that was invented just to be an insult to her, she doesn't get what she's doing. Would you rather? That's a perfectly valid would you rather question. I mean, like, I'd be annoyed. Like, would you rather a lot of times would be like, you know, would you rather eat a plate of boogers or something childish like that? Like, then I could understand her being like, okay, that's too much, or that's whatever. But then she also said that, or her husband said for her daddy said for her.
And despite the fact that Mo'Nique and Lee were having a rift at the time, she refused to say anything negatively against them in that regard. She wasn't going to play that.
And it was like, there's footage of you disrespecting Lee Daniels.
So no, I was not blackballed. I was whiteballed by some black dicks who had no balls. Thank you, Mr. Lee Daniels.
So to act like that was such a thing, you know, it was either disrespect Lee Daniels or disrespect Corinne Steffens. Corinne Steffens would probably be happy to get the press as much as she hasn't really been in the public eye for quite a while. And I'd imagine this was several years ago, but Corinne Steffens has always been kind of a fame whore, so I don't really think she would have cared. So to make it seem like either way you'd be taking a dig at them, to me is again silly. And it's like, there's never going to be an end with Mo'Nique. There's never going to be an I'm happy. And at some point, when you've got $13 million and you've got a man that you're supposedly in love with, and you don't have to rely on the industry for anything, because when it comes down to it, I saw some people saying Mo'Nique is out of money, and it's like, she's not out of money. She's not broke, and she'll always be able to make money. Even if she decides to put on her own tours at some point, she'll always be able to make money. Somebody's always going to hire her. She's always going to have value in the stand-up comedy world, unless she does something really terrible, unless she somehow tragically becomes, God forbid, becomes unable to perform. Other than that, she's always going to be able to make money in the stand-up comedy space. So it's like, there's nothing for her to worry about. There's every reason to be happy. There's every reason to be appreciative. And if anything, when you have these blow-ups, maybe every once in a while look inside and be like, okay, why did I do that? Or why do I feel that way? Instead of always looking outward and being like, I should blame this person. When it came to DL on his part, I don't think he's a saint either. Like I said, I think he too should have just been like, okay, well, if Mo'Nique wants to headline that bad, then let her headline. Go ahead and kill it, and then just leave the area. Why even listen to her set? Why would I even pay attention to what she has to say? Me and her aren't friends. We don't rock with each other like that. So why would I stick around and listen to her? So I do blame DL as well. And then when DL brings up, she got into it with Tyler Perry, she got into it with Oprah Winfrey, it's kind of like, yeah, that kind of tells me that you might not think you're 100% in the right, because otherwise you can just deal with her on your case specifically, and you don't even have to bring up those other people that have nothing to do with what you were talking about. That's something I've had people do with me quite a bit, where they'll bring up, you got into it with this person, you had your arguments with other people, and it's like, yeah, that doesn't mean I'm wrong when it comes to you. So I get where Mo'Nique's coming at it from on that particular level when it comes to D.L. Hughley. Then also when he brought up that, you know, she said certain things about him, well, he said a lot of things about her too, and she brought that up as well. And it is kind of weird that he would get, as she put it, tender when she fires back at him, because he did talk a lot about her, especially when that Netflix stuff was happening and different things were going on. He's always been talking about her. So it really is weird that he would get, tender, as she puts it, about that. It seems like that should be kind of fair. Like, you've talked about her enough that if she decides to talk about you, it kind of is what it is. Then when she said that,
well, I thought I was coming back being clever, making a joke, because back in the day when somebody was on the DL, you know what they were. I don't think you're a homosexual man, DL. I was making a joke, and I can't believe you got tender.
maybe look into that. And I'm not trying to get SJW, but why is gay an insult to you still at this point, Mo'Nique? Like, you're trying to act like you're so uplifting to everybody, but at the same time, you're the quickest to make it seem like what I am is an actual insult. How would you feel if somebody made it seem like being a black woman was an insult? Oh yeah, that's your whole thing, is you're standing up for black women while tearing down other marginalized people. And I'm not trying to get SJW, but I'm just saying, if you're going to pretend to be that person, then be that person all the way around. That's what I would say. And so there's a lot of inconsistencies in Mo'Nique's story, or not necessarily her story, but the way it goes. As far as the contracts go, that should be easy to figure out, so I'm not really going to get into that too much. I do see what she was saying about him showing a deal memo and her showing an actual contract. And then when he did say that hers was from her production company, well, that makes sense, because a lot of times they'll ask you, do you have a contract? That's something I've had to deal with before, where people ask me if I have a contract. I send them a contract, and that already has everything in it that I need, that I want, and so it lays everything out the way that I want it, and then they can just sign off on it, or redline certain things, as they call it, which is when they go through and, like, cross certain things off, and like, we can't do that, or that's not going to be provided. And so, I get what it is that both sides are saying on that, but I do agree with her more on the contract level. But also, if it's like that and she really did have an ironclad where she was supposed to headline, and the way that it went down is she didn't in fact headline, then it would seem like she should handle that in a court of law pretty easily. She should be able to get some money off of a lawsuit that way, unless she just doesn't want to sue the promoter or the booker. But she does say that either way it went, she was going to get in his ass. Like, no matter what, she was going to get into it with him. So if that was your plan going in, then I don't buy that it was you necessarily standing up in the moment for anything. You had already planned to do that. You've already said that. So just accept it and just be the person you are. That's what I would say. I'm tired of Mo'Nique trying to gaslight us all into believing that she's got this bigger cause, because really, this one especially is about your ego. That's what I would say. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. This has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.